This channel is for educational purposes only. Make sure you do your own due diligence before making any investments. And there is inherent risk in trading, so it's speculative. Just make sure you keep that in mind.
Hi, this is Joe Rabil with Invest Like a Pro. Wanted to go into the market today. I'm going to do this same format that I've been using recently. I'm going to go through several markets and do it a little bit quicker using 2 time frames. And I am going to give an update on the market sentiment and volatility. So let's go ahead and get into the charts. And so here we are. We've got a unique situation developing in the spider right now. And I think it's worth noting. So I have a weekly chart on the left and a daily chart on the right. One thing I want to do real quick is just show, I've got a monthly on the right now. Look at what the monthly has been doing. We kind of jettisoned away from the 18-month line, and we've been continuing to creep farther and farther away to the point now where we're getting a little extended. Now, if we look at the sentiment numbers, the sentiment's starting to climb again. We're up to 43%, more bulls than bears. And, but one of the things that I think is still pretty bullish for this market environment is there's no sign of volatility. The volatility on the daily continues to make lower highs and lower lows on an ATR. If you look at an ATR, and then also on the weekly, same thing. So while the sentiment is starting to move up, we're not seeing signs of like sellers showing up that's causing any sign of volatility yet. Let me switch this back to a daily chart. So the point I wanted to make is we've gotten extended on the monthly chart, but on the weekly, it's still pretty orderly. The 18's above the 40, and I've been leaning on this now for a while. I think in the last several Friday reviews, I've been saying how this slope of these moving averages is very important. The one thing I will say that bugs me a little bit is that we're clearly hitting new high territory now, and MACD is not back above its signal line, and ADX is still dropping. So what do we need to have happen here? I mean, we need to see sellers show up. And you can't just sell a stock because it's going to new highs without momentum. That is not a sell signal. A sell signal would come as we get some kind of a climatic action that would give us the indication that a reversal is coming. So if this pushed up and then the next bar opened up like that and then had a really ugly down bar or something like that, some type of sign of real selling to develop without any improvement on the MACD or the ADX, then you might get a little bit more of a sign that there's a problem. The other thing we could be on the lookout for is our first kind of 1-2 reversal, 1-2-3 reversal, something like that on the daily chart. We don't right now, if I'm doing that, I've got a trend line here. And so I don't really have any sign of a topping pattern developing on the shorter term time frame. I don't think I want to do this on the hourly because I think that would be jumping the gun a little bit. I'd want to find some signs of distribution on a daily chart. Now, we could just go and look for big red bars show up. We had one here. We need them to be greater than normal volume, and we like to see 3 or 4 during the course of about 2-3 weeks. If we saw that, then I'd feel like, okay, there's signs of distribution developing. We just don't have any of that taking place yet. And so, I think you want to be careful about jumping the gun and saying, okay, we have divergence. We're extended away on the monthly, and now we have divergence, potential divergence, and I'm just going to sell. Really not a sell signal yet. And so, again, use price action in your favor right now. Look at what's taking place. Up day, big up day off this low. Another nice up day, pause day, gap up day, pause day, another up day, smaller up day, and now a really good up day. So that's not a sign of sellers. So you got to wait for sellers to show up. We're in an area where I think you want a heightened awareness. We've got the bulls moving up. We got a sentiment number that's a little bit more dangerous. We've got an extended monthly, and now we're finally showing confirmation of divergence on the weekly. So I would be a lot more selective about new buys. I would make sure the buys that I'm doing meet all my criteria, have really good entry, look for your good pullbacks and look for your good setups. Put them on, but the moment we start to see sign of distribution and or a topping pattern on this spider in this position, then you really want to kind of pull back, I think, pull in the reins. Let's go and look at the QQQ. Same pattern of higher highs and higher lows. Now, the 18 and the 40 aren't quite as strong. You can see how they've been, they're moving up, but not at the same kind of pace that the spider is. And that is reflected in the MACD and in the ADX, both on the weaker side of things. Same situation though. You can't just sell because a market is moving up and it has divergence. That's not a sell signal. We need a reversal signal, some sign of sellers to show up. Now, in this situation, we could be on the lookout for a trend break here for the Qs, and then we trend break and then come back up and test. And if we fail on that test and start to work down, now we're getting a little bit more confirmation of some kind of a reversal developing. Let's look at the IWM. This is the Russell 2000. I do like the looks of this, but one of the key things to keep in mind is we have a low ADX on the weekly and a low ADX on the daily. So what does that mean? Hope you guys know by now that means you buy breakouts. You don't buy pullbacks. You don't buy in the zone, in the range. Wait for this to get going again and take out this key area. When it does, there should be plenty of upside. For all I know, we're just going to ratchet back and forth for a few more months. I don't know. And I don't need to know is the point. And I could guess. I could go down on an intraday time frame and get long down in here and then hope that this is going to break out. But I really would prefer to just wait for these bigger trends to kick in. And if that happens, now all of a sudden I'm in a position that has a really high potential to move to the upside. Let's go to the DIA. This is pretty cool because so we had this same 1840 pattern. The last time this peaked, we had right here on this peak, we had confirming ADX. Confirming MACD and confirming ADX. So we want to buy this pullback to the 18. We got the pullback. It had a undercut pattern here. So if you wanted to play aggressive, you could have maybe gone down on an hourly down in this zone here and tried to get in, or waited for this little hesitation move here after it crossed back above both moving averages. So, in this instance, I think we have the potential for divergence to develop now, because if this goes to a new high and this goes to a new high, I don't see MACD confirming. I do like the ADX picture on this time frame, and that's why I said I liked buying that pullback to the 18. So anyway, that's kind of how this is situated right now. I think this is in okay shape. I would not be surprised if we end up not breaking out right now and we consolidate. But I love this undercut and rally, and I think that's a good sign that there's support underneath. Take a quick look at crude. Just wanted to give an update. The target I had for this was up in this 75 to 80 zone. The high of that move is around 77.5. That's basically what we hit today. So I wanted to bring this up. I think we need to have a much more heightened awareness to price action now, looking for signs of sellers, or do we get follow through to the upside and like a real breakout above that area? And then if that's the case, then we could continue to carry to the upside. So it's a zone that we need to start watching, I think. Gold. Gold has been correcting back down. The bigger picture pattern really looked okay. But, I don't like the violence in this big bar to the downside. And this is kind of what I was saying before. I'd rather see this. So the midpoint of this big bar is somewhere in this zone. I don't think I'd want to do anything until I get back above that. And that's probably somewhere, right in this area on the daily chart. So I kind of want to see this form some kind of a reversal pattern where you break the trend line, come back up, show signs of a reversal before I get interested in this now, just based on how violent that selling was. And we haven't really recouped. So that's kind of how I'm reading that. I just too much of a decline in a short period of time, big overrun on the MACD on the daily chart. So I think we can be patient on this. I wanted to look at the 10-year treasury, and I wanted to pull up the longer term chart. I put this horizontal line going across. It's really down around 1.42, 1.40. I had mentioned around 1.45 to 1.5, but it's really a little bit lower than that. I mean, this goes back. You can see where it hit that line, hit it again here. We could actually come down a little bit more and still be in okay shape. The one thing that's missing is we came down and crossed down below the signal line on the MACD. So we know even if this gets going, you're probably going to turn into sort of a, let me do that again. Probably going to turn into some kind of a sideways pattern before this is really ready to take off again. But I do think it would be encouraging to hold this area, this horizontal line that I've got. That to me would sort of tell me that we probably have more upside coming sooner rather than later. Finally, I do want to take a quick peek at Bitcoin. With the violence of the decline, I just wanted to point out we have come down and tested this key area, which I had pointed out right around 30,000. And it undercut it and then reversed. So now we're coming back to test this area, right? I mean, this is a key area down here. We spiked down here once, spiked down here again. Now we undercut and spiked. If we can turn this into a higher bottom, I think that would make for probably a pretty decent trading room back up into this resistance zone. Actually, the first target would be this resistance zone here. But if we turn this thing around here, it wouldn't be surprised if this turned into a bigger range, and you can see that on the weekly. So we're at a very critical point. Now, if this comes down and it takes out these lows again and takes out the midpoint of this line, then you sort of have to assume that this could be trouble. We've got a little bit too much air underneath 30,000, and if we break that, it would be alarming. I think it would be concerning if it played out that way. Anyway, that's the update for the week. Post any questions or comments. We'll talk to you next time.